Okay, this video is just going to show how to use the simple reporting capability of Enterprise Architect. I have a model here that I've created. I have a bunch of views. I have a README view, a requirements view, a behavioral view, a systems architecture view, and a software component view. Inside of these, I have some structures. The requirements has a couple packages, and then you get down to the individual requirements elements. And note that inside of here I've color coded all the different elements. So the first one's black, then we go to different colors. This is just to highlight the reporting engine and how it prints. So with my models, I typically have a README and a main navigation page that looks something like this. So I have the diagram details, use a note here to capture the header, and then I have my packages and then the navigation cells that link to the packages. So what I'm going to show now is how to do some reporting. This is a dashboard diagram too. That's why when I bring up the toolbox you see the pie charts and everything. So to create some reporting, I typically put them in the main navigation page. I'm going to come down to common. I'm going to grab a boundary, throw it up here, and I'm going to call it off-the-shelf reports. Now the reports are under artifacts and report specification. So I drag and drop it. I'm going to go into the properties tab. I'm going to change the name. I'm going to call it full model report. And then when I double click this, I pick the package. So I'm going to click the whole model. And then it opens up this document manager. In here I have the model that I'm going to run the report on, the name, and where I'm going to put it. So this is going to go on my desktop. I'm actually going to change the format to docx. Save. Now I can select different cover page options, hide all contents, and the report that I'm going to use here is I'm going to use a specification manager list. So this one just goes through, it'll run through each model, each element, and print out what is in the what's in that element. So it runs pretty quick, and here's what I get: model package, README, and then this is the specification. Then I go into my requirements view, go into my use cases. So I have some use cases in the behavioral view. You can see that these are what was in the notes. So description, assumption, basic flow, alternates, reference, open questions. This is the template that I use for use cases. And down into the components, and that's it. So anything that I put in the notes, and let's just open up a component to show you. So this is packaging component 2. Click on the notes. Here we go. Description, interfaces, inputs, outputs, data. Okay, so simple enough. It runs right on it. Now let's say that I want to modify it and create my own report template with a header and a footer and some other things. I want the diagrams in here. So that's easy. I just come up to, I have the resources tab down here, but it's under configure resources. So that opens it up, and then under here is the document generation tab. These are any user templates that I've created. Notice there's none. And then here are all the system templates. So when I go back and open this guy up, this is the list that it's reading from right here. And we were using the specification manager list. So I'm just going to come over to specification manager list. I'm going to open this template up, and this is what it looks like. It's pretty simple. So I'm going to do a save as. I'm going to call it specification manager list. I'm going to give it a DSM. And actually, it's good to put the date in here so that you know when you build it and if it's recent or not. So you'd be surprised at how you go through waves. You build them, you get them to work, then you do some reporting, and then months will go by, and then you come back and you're like, what was the latest report? So give it a nice date in there, and then I put my initials. So click OK, and now notice it opened up the sections that I can add. So here's the package name, here's the package element. So if I come over here to package, notice diagram isn't checked. So I'm going to add the diagram. All I did was checked it right here. Now I'm going to come back. I'm going to delete that out. And the way that this gets inserted is I just come to insert field and I can put the diagram image. So there's the diagram image. Let's add the notes. So insert field, diagram notes, bingo. There we go. I like this guy to be centered. Now note this edit tab has appeared on the ribbon. So I come up here to edit and I can do center. I like it. Let's also add a heading to this. So it's already a heading 1. Let's just add some numbering. There we go. And I want my do the packages? Yeah, only the packages in this one have diagrams. So we'll leave it like this and call it good. And do a quick save. I'm going to jump back to this main navigation page. Double click. And I'll click. I'm going to come up here and select the report that I just created. And let's add a table of contents. Portrait. And notice I have this view document upon completion. That's how it's opening it up and I'm seeing it. So if I click generate, it's going to go through and run. This one runs pretty quick. Starts out with the table of contents. And note I got the diagram in here now. I have the diagram that I have for the requirements. And I have my diagrams in a nice clean report. Okay, simple enough. Now let's go back and add a header. Edit, edit, page header and footer. Edit, first page header and footer. Here's the report title, here's the date. I like to have tables in here, so we're going to insert a table. I want 1 row, 3 columns, click OK. So there we go, so the report title will be in there. I'm going to delete this out of here. Note there's this line that appeared. So to get rid of that, I'm going to come over to paragraphs and come down to borders and shading, and note I got the bottom line. So I'll get rid of that. Let's come back here and let's go to edit, and we'll drop down all borders. So there we go. We see that that's nice and bordered. There's also a double line in there. It was coming from there. So let's turn that off. Okay, so it's going to print the report title. And I'm going to insert the date in here so I can come down. There's a long date. There's a short date. Let's insert the short date. And let's also call this, let's give this a name. And this will appear in the document on every page. So let's call this full model report. Let's say that I want to add an icon here for my company. I can do that. Let's delete out the report title. You have to have the whole thing highlighted. Delete. And to do that, we just come up to edit. We come over to insert, and I'm going to come down to embedded picture. I like The Simpsons, so let's pretend like this is our Simpsons report. And we can move this, resize this. There we go. Let's make these a little bigger too so that they show up. They're only 8 point, I want them 12. Centered. Okay, I'm gonna do save as, and I'm gonna add an R1 here. Okay, so I got a header. Let's pretend like this is the icon of my company. Full model report, short date. We added the diagram in here. It's been saved. Let's jump back to the main navigation page and let's run this again. Click generate. And there we go. We got our report. Okay, oops. You know what I did? I ran the old report. Yep. Let me add R1, generate again. Table of contents. Bam, I got my model logo. README. And the sizes and everything at which it prints this out are, they come from that edit menu. So if I want to change the size, for example, or the format, I just go up to edit. I can select, let's say I want to use Times New Roman. Times New Roman. Save. And you know, you can change the size in there too, because I think these are like 8 or 10. Yeah, we can make that 12. Although it's a diagram image, so I'm not going to change much, but that will, and so will this. So this is the very, very, very basic example of how to set up and run the report template. One last thing I want to show is you can also add a custom cover page. There aren't any available, but the way that you would do that is come down here. Actually, you got to come down to user templates, right click, go to create template, call it a cover page, select a different type, you select the cover page. We'll start out with copying the portrait template, click OK, and this is the starting one that you have. And again, you go up and use all the edit functionality to do it, and you can make these real nice and clean, just like you would any Word document. Then it reuses it, and these are the variables that it'll come in and replace. One other thing to show is when I come into here, I also have options. So if I open my model template back up, I can hide noteless elements. I can hide noteless connectors, and I can hide any anonymous elements. Sometimes you'll accidentally delete out the name in the project browser, and that'll take care of that. If you start to have problems with the image too, because sometimes the images can get messed up if it's a really, really big image, you can come down and change to bitmap, and that'll help clean that up. So anyway, very simple example and a very, very basic way to run it, to build a report template and how to run it. And something else, that if you just want to set it up for sections, let's say we wanted to do one for the requirements specifically, I'm going to come back, I'm going to grab report specification, I'm going to run this right on the requirements, click OK. And this one, there's special requirements ones. There's a detailed and a summary. And I can go in here and you'll see I can customize this report too. So click open template. You can see what this thing's going to print out is a lot more variables and attributes that are in the database for those elements. And you know, any external requirements, any constraints you've added, depending upon how you're using your elements, this can pull out the details. We'll just run this real quick to show you an example. And the best practice would be to go back in and rename the, I did not rename the specification report, call it requirements. My models, I typically have a full report, and then I have a requirements. Full report's just a summary, and then I have a requirements that looks similar to this, where you see, what the package is, what the version numbers are in the elements for each element. If I come into requirements view and I click on the properties, let's go to properties, special action. So here's some of the statuses, what type it is, alias, keywords, the version, the phase, difficulty, priority. All those things can be printed out into, so here you see the version, the phase, and what its status is. And so all those details. And so I can take a copy of this just like I did the specifications, and I can go in and modify this and customize it. I get my headers and other things. So very simple, easy reporting example for you. If you got any questions, post them in the chat. Thanks.